nerdsreviews.com presents Nerds Talking, the podcast.
Yo, we talk about lightsabers, stunning your TV screens, what you want to stream, everything beyond your dreams. Want to talk about movies, sports, or even politics? Go ahead and tune into us, we'll give you all of it. Whatever you're debating, Xbox or PlayStation, Marvel or DC, Mac or PC. Teraflops when the movie drops, gigabytes, chips, RAM, no matter what it is, we got all of it. Welcome to the show.
Nerds Talking, the podcast.
Welcome to Nerds Talking, the podcast, your daily podcast for nerds, news, sports. I guess we don't really cover sports that much, right, fellas? And make sure you subscribe, download, turn on notifications, tell your friends, and rate, review, leave us any type of review, even if you hate the show. We'd love to read them. I'm here with Carlos,
Hello.
Hugh G1 Kenobi, Hugh.
What's up?
And I'm Lafayette, just the three amigos on this episode of Nerds Talking, the podcast. And we're going to jump right into it. And we're going to talk about media in general and news media. And as we know, over the past 4 years, we've heard the two words over and over: fake news. When some certain individual that was the color of an orangutan didn't like what was said about him, he'd say fake news. Well, there's still a lot of fake news out there. It doesn't necessarily stop. And the reason why we have a lot of fake news is really two sources of fake news. It's Facebook and Twitter. And it's hard to combat fake news these days, because when we're growing up, your only source of news was whatever the television told you or the newspaper. That's pretty much the news you could get. You couldn't obtain it really any other way. You took it at face value. And that's what it was. You believed it. There it is. There's the news. They told me last night when I watched it, and I watched it this morning, yada, yada, yada. Now there's a million news sources. There's a million, I guess you can call them internet reporters, however you want to call them. And
Internet detectives.
Yeah. And there's a ton of websites claiming to be a news outlet. And that number one website that claims to be a news outlet, well, I guess it doesn't claim to be a news outlet, is Facebook. And Facebook's biggest issue is, well, basically anyone can post something that looks like a real news story and people will believe it. They'll even link it to a site that backs it up that could be a BS site, and it's believable. Just like how people believe propaganda, left or right wing, however you want to play it. It's always given to you as a news source. And it's funny you guys brought this up, because there'll be stuff that says Washington News, and then they'll say something bad about like the president or something. And the reason why they call it, this website will call themselves WashingtonNews.com, is because people affiliate with the Washington Post or something like that. So they'll assume it's real. If I saw it on Washington News, like, what the hell is that? What do you mean? Isn't that what Jeff Bezos owns or whatever? He knows it's affiliated thing. It's that's what it is. It's like OAN, right? Only. What does OAN stand for? Only.
It's One American News.
There you go. One American News. And it's the same thing. They're a right-wing, basically propaganda news station. But because they throw the word news on the end, people assume what they're telling you is the real news, actual information. If you like OAN, it's not a big deal. That's what you like. What I never understood about things like OAN and Fox News is that you're just feeding the masses the same shit over and over. So I mean, if you already have a dog you can train to go get, go outside and take its own shit and come back in, you don't need to keep training them. They're trained. They're good. But they just keep they keep training these fools over and over the same information. And it's almost like they have no brain cells of their own to think for themselves. It's whatever that machine tells them, the box. And it's just, it's sad. But fake news, because I wouldn't necessarily call Fox fake news. I call it opinionated news.
Take the word news out.
So,
it's opinions.
Yeah. So
not news.
Carlos has one for us, or two stories, I guess, that he saw recently on Facebook that actually got picked up by actual media outlets, and they ran with it. So, Carlos, tell the audience what you read on Facebook and how you also fell for it.
Well, first, what you had mentioned about back in the day, all we had was news and newspaper, the nightly news and newspaper. I think back then we had journalists that were a little more, I guess you could say, honorable, a little more reputable, because they would actually check their sources. They had real sources to go with. But the news that I saw 2 stories on Facebook, and they were both picked up by ESPN, and ESPN ran with them like they were real stories. The first one was, during a press conference, Cristiano Ronaldo removed 2 Coca-Cola bottles from in front of him and moved them off to the side, and just grabbed his bottle of water and said agua. Apparently he doesn't drink soda. So the fake story was Coca-Cola lost $4 billion because of that move. Their stocks dropped so drastically, they lost $4 billion. Well, that's not true. And during that week, or during this week, while it happened, they only lost 1.8% in stock value. So there's no way they lost $4 billion. But yet ESPN ran with it and said it was true that they lost $4 million in a day because of that move. Not true. And the other story was Christian Eriksen had a heart attack on the field during a game. And the EMT put up these big blankets or these big tarps to shield him from media and from cameras and whatever as they carted him off the field. Well, the story was that Finnish fans gave the EMTs these 2 large flags in order to cart him off the field, in order to use to block him. And you can clearly see in the photo as they're carting him off the field, the 2 white tarps are not flags at all. They're not flags. They're just white tarps with 2 reflective stripes across them, one across the top, one across the bottom. But yet ESPN also ran with it and even ran the false comment in this story on Facebook that said, football is not just a game, it's a community. Well, that didn't happen. They didn't use Finnish flags to cart him off the field, to shield him from the media. But ESPN ran with it. So nobody's checking sources anymore. They're just running what they see on Facebook. Facebook is their source, and that's that.
Part of what I think we talked about earlier is that there's a definitely large segment that is only going to be interested in headlines that reaffirm what they already believe anyway. And they're not interested in finding something else that might question that. I mean, I've read a lot of stories about that where they're not even going to look for other sources because they only want to see things that reaffirm how they already believe. So, for example, when we were all wearing masks like we should, if you were not inclined to wear a mask or didn't believe that the pandemic was serious or even real, then you were only interested in those articles, those stories that said masks don't solve anything. COVID doesn't affect anybody. That's part of the problem. You can't make people not, in 30 years ago, you would have had the network news, the various networks and their news, and then your local stations, which might have been 4 in a market. So maybe 7 sources, 8 sources of news, and that was it. You didn't have 100 that you can find where you can basically just find whatever it is you want to find that reaffirms the stupidity in your own head. I think that's a big part of it.
You made a good point. Nowadays, you can find the news that fits your agenda.
That's right.
Right. You can pick and choose. Right.
That's a good point. I'll give you a little update on the Ronaldo Coca-Cola. Carlos talking about the Euro Cup soccer tournament happening right at this moment. Basically, Ronaldo was doing a press conference. 2 Coca-Cola bottles were in front of him. He moved them to the side. He said water, and he said Coca-Cola, no, just kind of moved them to the side. According to Yahoo Finance, Coke did lose 1.6 in share and $4 billion within the 20 minutes he did that. So that's what they're saying. According to Yahoo Finance, they did lose $4 billion in stock. Now, that doesn't mean I
don't believe it.
Who cares? It a good chance it went up anyway. It was just for that short time. Like for instance, I'll give you, in the last week, Coca-Cola's only down $1.33. But that's it. So a whole $1.33. So, I mean, $4 billion to Coke is a drop in the bucket. It's ridiculous how much that company's worth worldwide.
I just
But you know,
looked up.
it's
Go ahead.
crazy though. It's because I mean, but it's also one of those things where you see it also and go, that shit cannot be real. It's a stupid reason for a company to lose that much in a value because a world famous superstar soccer player decided, oh, I mean, he's not sponsored by Coke, so he's probably like, why is this here? I'm gonna move it out of my way. Let me put a bottle of water right here. Oh my God, he did that. Oh no, Coke's never gonna sell again. You know how stupid that is? The average Coke drinker could care less that he did that. Like nobody cares he did that. So the fact that's what I love about the stock market in general. It also reacts off of like actions that have nothing to do with the value of the brand. You know what I mean? It's hilarious in that regard also.
Well, what's
So-
funny is that the stock went from $56.17 to $55.08.
Holy macaroni.
To say that he caused the company to lose $4 billion is just ridiculous. That is just absolutely stupid.
He has ultimate power, Ronaldo.
Because they lose that money every day. Tomorrow it may be up again to like 56, and then next Thursday it'll be down to 54. So
Yeah.
they're not losing money per se.
Yeah, all they're really
So-
saying is his actions caused a minor dip where the total value was $4 billion. But like you said, it's going to lose 0.5% tomorrow, which is going to be, 800 million or whatever. That's going to be over $1 billion and so on and so forth. Yeah, like you
But
said.
whose fault will it be at that point?
Let's go with Patrick Swayze. All right.
So let me
got
give you,
anything?
let me give you some examples this is from Business Insider.
Yep.
The 10 most viewed fake news stories on Facebook in 2019.
Very good.
You want to guess some of them? Let me just give you.
I mean, I'm pretty
It's
sure
gonna
a
be-
lot are political.
Well, and you're right, but it just gives you an it gives you an idea of what people clicked on and viewed and took as news, depending on their persuasion. Number 10, Joe Biden calls Trump supporters dregs of society.
Ah, yeah, I don't remember that one. Okay. What's number 9?
Here's a good one. Number 9, New York City coroner who declared the death of Jeffrey Epstein a suicide made $500,000 working for the Clinton Foundation until 2015.
I mean,
And again, as I talked about earlier, if you have an agenda, then you're going to look at that headline and go, yep, I told you, I knew it. He had something to do with it.
especially that story. Good heavens.
Number 8,
Good heavens.
Tim Allen quotes, quote, Trump's wall costs less than the Obamacare website. Some of these, I don't remember. Here's a good one. Number 7, Democrats vote to enhance Medicare for illegals now, vote down vets waiting 10 years for the same service. And so if you're a Republican, especially way out on that limb, you're looking at that and going, yep.
But the sad
Without-
part is for Republicans, that's like exciting news. Because look how bad my enemies look.
But
You know
without
what I
fact,
mean?
without fact checking is what we're talking about.
Right.
Without fact checking any of it to
Oh,
see if that's
man.
actually true.
I mean, we also have to look at that time who was in the Oval Office because it's really not different nowadays, too. I mean, it's just reverse. Now,
Right.
the news being pumped out now is basically about Joe Biden being an idiot, an old man, doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and yada yada yada. And when it was Trump in office, it was this president is an idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing, yada yada yada. It's just all. So, like I said, it's pumped out by news sources that aren't really news sources. They could be blogs, they could be, some guy that's really into politics, but he has no insight into politics. He just watches a lot of news, and that's where he gets his news, like his opinion formed from, and that's all.
And to that point, number 1 was, quote, in quotes, Trump's grandfather was a pimp and tax evader. His father, a member of the KKK.
Oh no, that's true. I wrote
That's
that.
right. That story
I wrote
was
that.
true. Yeah, it was actually fact checked by me just now.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
And then go ahead, Carlos.
And I was going to say, I have another update to your Cristiano Ronaldo story. So based on the trading chart, Coke actually dipped and was already down by $2.1 billion before he even showed up to the conference, the news conference. So it was already headed down for the day.
What you're telling me is his existence ruins Coke.
Yeah.
Wow.
So apparently it's just the fact that he did it obviously makes it for a more eye-catching story than just to tell people, hey, Coke's down today.
Could you imagine if on his Instagram now it's just him like slapping products off of counters?
Just smacking them out of the way.
And no kid. Bam. Like, damn, what the hell is this guy's problem? He doesn't like Oreos? Oreos just crashes and goes out of business because he doesn't like them.
Well, it'd be perfect for a water company to go up to him. Hey, man, sponsor us. We're going to sponsor
he has his
you.
own. He has his own water.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Okay. And then at the end of the story, it says if Ronaldo has such influence, then why has he recently slashed the asking price on his Manhattan condo?
God, that's son. Because he doesn't know real estate.
Well, apparently not.
Yeah. Hugh?
Well, no, I was going to say the worst part about this, and I remember this. I remember when back in 2016 or somewhere around there. Remember when that pizza shop in Washington?
Oh yes, Pizzagate,
DC was supposedly the home to a pedophile ring that was in the basement.
Yes.
Well, apparently a real guy went there, brought a rifle into the shop, and began shooting.
Yeah, he did.
Oh yeah. He started shooting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he said,
So
where are the kids? And
Right.
where's the basement? And they told him there's no basement here. What the hell are you talking about? And the cops arrested his ass. Yeah.
Right, but that's the real consequence of
You know what's
people not
crazy about
checking anything.
I'll tell you what the craziest part about that story is. The fact that that guy went to a pizza shop demanding to see the basement of where the children are hidden with a gun, aiming it at everyone. I think he may have like let off some rounds, like just into the ceiling or some shit. And then when the cops show up, he walks out with his gun. They do nothing. Just get on the ground, sir. You know for a fact that was a black
yeah.
guy.
If he was
Pop right away.
No,
right
if he
away.
was Asian, there would have been a kung fu fight. I'm telling you.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Because everybody's kung
Speaking
fu
of
fighting.
which,
Because this was in New York, right?
everybody was.
Kung fu fighting. What's the
No,
next
you're not
line?
kidding. If he came out,
It's true. You're right.
and he was dark skinned, this would have been a dead
No
he'd be dead.
question about
He'd
it.
be dead.
Dead
Not only
man.
would
No
he be
question about
Here's
it.
the sad part is he would not only be dead. People would get out the story that he went there for that conspiracy, and the right wing would say, "Oh, but he was armed. He deserved to get shot. He had a gun." Wait, he's there for your cause, for your so-called pedophile Satan ring. Like you can't win sometimes with people and their politics and yeah.
Well, that Pizzagate thing is funny because there were so many stupid people. Do you remember the toys, the trolls? I'm sure you've seen the movie.
Yeah, of course. Who doesn't know the trolls?
Apparently they had some trolls where the big thing about the trolls when they first came out, and I remember they came out in the early 90s. Anyway, they were all naked and their butts were sticking out. That was the big thing. Big hair and big butts. That was
They had the gem in their belly button.
right. Well, apparently they had a brand of trolls where if you would rub the butt cheek or something or get it wet, something like that, it would reveal a word or something playful, whatever. Someone found a troll, they made the word appear and it said pizza. So right away they thought that's Pizzagate. And that's how they're getting their message spread around. It'd be by these naked trolls.
Oh, yeah.
Pizza on it.
Well, you know what? That's a good point. They actually think the word pizza means pedophile. That's what they think.
It does. In Italian?
So they use that. If you ever see, well, they don't have them now, but when they had the crazy ex-presidents rallies, people held up signs saying pizza, like lock her up type of crap. You're like, oh my God. Like, oh man, if you guys probably seen the QAnon HBO thing already by any chance? If you haven't, watch it. It reveals like everything about that. Basically who is Q, all that. And
wait, I did see that. The little dude and the other guy.
Yeah, you saw that. Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, and when you find all that out, you're like, these people are so stupid that follow this shit. Like, good Lord. Anyway, we'll take a break here on Nerds Talking to Podcast. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the show here on Nerds Talking the Podcast with Carlos Hugh. I'm Lafayette. And remember to rate, subscribe, review, download, tell your friends, turn on notifications. Every Friday, nerdsreview.com gives you a new episode. We basically talk about anything. And but now we're going to lead into more nerdy stuff. So HBO Max is a brand new show coming out soon. It's a Scooby-Doo spinoff about Velma. If you guys don't know, Velma is more like the nerdy one in the orange sweater and glasses. She's the smart one of the bunch. But a little twist on this version of Velma, in this 10-episode animated show. Velma is from where again?
Pakistan.
Pakistan. And it's written, produced, and stars with Mindy Kaling. If you know who that is, she was from The Office, and she had also a Hulu show, I think. Also,
Mindy's Project.
Yeah, it was Hulu, right?
Mindy Project. Well, it started on Fox. Fox dropped it. Hulu picked it up.
Yeah, and Carlos will fill you in with the rest of the story. Go for it.
Well, apparently she's changing Velma. She's changing Velma to a Southeast Asian, which basically she's changing Velma into Mindy. Because she said as she was growing up, she used to watch that show, she saw herself as Velma. Or she said she saw Velma as a Southeast Asian nerdy girl, I guess. Basically, she just saw herself as Velma. That's what she's doing. She's just making herself Velma because she can, because she's the executive producer.
Yeah.
People are all up in arms and all nuts all over it on Twitter. And who cares? I mean, it's a fictitious character. We talked about this before, how they change fictitious characters. I mean, are people really in love with Velma? I mean, after this show is over, people are going to forget about it. Then another Scooby-Doo rendition will come out and everything will go back to normal.
Okay. I got another one for you.
What's that?
HBO Max, people. I was watching HBO Max the other night, and the show ended. Like it completed. I forgot what it was I was watching. I can't recall. It was pretty good. Oh, the show Hacks. It's pretty good on HBO
Hacks.
Max.
I've heard it's good.
So it just finished, and I was watching the finale. And after, I didn't pay attention to TV, and it kind of rolled to the credits, and it started playing another show. Because it does that sometimes. Well, it played a show from the 80s that was on TGIF that I watched all the time, that I loved. And I want to give you one hint at the show.
Steve Urkel.
Okay? No. All right, here we go. This
Say
is the only hint you get.
Okay. Tease me again.
The only hint
you
you get.
Teased. Don't tease them.
TGIF, 80s. Don't be ridiculous.
Perfect Strangers.
Bam. There you go. So it starts playing, and I'm like, I forgot how good this show was. And I watched like the first 4 episodes. I'm like, this was so much fun when I was a kid. Guess what HBO Max is doing? Rebooting it with 2 women.
Oh my God.
It's 2 women, and one lives in New York, just like, well, the other show, Larry lived in Chicago, but one lives in New York, and the cousin comes from somewhere in Africa to move in with the cousin, and the cousin's unaware of this. So same type of story. So how do you process that? Because when I saw the news, as someone that knows Perfect Strangers and watched it growing up and really enjoyed it, I was like, why are you doing this to Perfect Strangers?
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
Nowadays, nobody really knows what Perfect Strangers is. So you can reintroduce it like that if you want.
True.
My only thing is, to me, it is funnier the way the original show is when this guy comes over from, I don't know where I can't remember where he's from originally in the show. He's from, I don't know. He's from like not Kazakhstan, or because he's not
something
Middle
like
Eastern.
that.
I think he's
Europe,
Northern Europe type of
yeah.
There you go. It's like Bosnia Herzegovina type of place.
Yeah.
And he's so out of touch with everything. He knows nothing, and just the way he comes off and he plays the role. So I don't know. To me, it's like, no, you don't have to reboot that show. Just leave it dead. It's fine. Like, I think my thing is like, just like Mindy Kaling, she sees something and goes, oh, I can do that better if I redid it. Or, or producer that probably still owns the rights to Perfect Strangers wants to reboot the show, goes, let's give it a modern twist. Let's make it ethnic people with, with women this time and see how it works. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's hard to redo that show because if it's going to be on HBO Max, it's not going to be a sitcom. Because it's not going to be a standard sitcom. They don't do sitcoms.
No, and it worked really well as a sitcom.
It's a sitcom. It's supposed to be a little silly and goofy and cousin Larry and Balky and I don't know. We'll see. Hugh, what do you think? Like if you saw a show, was there a show recently that did that they rebooted and you were like, this isn't it?
We were talking about that earlier, actually, Carlos and I, we were talking about Spielberg, and we were talking about the fact that he's executive producing a remake of West Side Story. It's not an episode. It's not an episodic. Yes. It's not a 10.
That one's it's already done. It's coming to HBO Max.
Right, and so you can go at that, in my opinion, one of two ways. You can do a complete copy with better camera.
Just better technology, yes.
Right. Or you can make it a version of that, but maybe darken it. Like I would, in my opinion, if you're going to do that, then make West Side Story dark. He didn't, I don't think, because it's set in New York still.
It's the same. It's still set in the same time frame.
Yes.
Yeah.
I might have made it a 2021 version.
Now, when you say dark, you mean dark in the sense of
like serious ass,
more dramatic, more like
serious ass street gangs, serious ass romance, serious ass people dying.
What person does die in that movie?
Yeah, but they die.
But you're right. Don't get me wrong.
Way,
it's silly as shit.
Right.
I mean, I enjoy West Side Story, but it's silly as shit.
And it was well made in the musical. I'm not saying it was bad. It was great.
I mean, let's be serious.
Why not make
why make that movie, to be honest, for today's audience? Because the movie that they made, probably, what was that? That was probably in the 60s or 70s, the movie they actually made for it.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really good. Why remake that? Yeah, why remake that movie? There's no point of. It's just one of those things again where somebody like Spielberg comes along and goes, I'm a purist. I love cinema. And if I made that movie, it's going to be so good.
Or maybe you look at it and say, I love that. I'm not trying to make it better, but I'm going to make it a little different, where it's a little rougher, or it's going to, like I'm talking about.
I mean, I'll be honest. If the whole here's the thing about what you said, the whole like gang, make it more realistic, people wouldn't care for it. That's the thing.
Maybe they wouldn't,
maybe. I don't think they would. That type of story needs that fantasy, love story, because they already have those type of movies that deal with gangs,
which you could still have. You could still have a fantasy love story.
I mean, it's Romeo and Juliet.
But maybe it'd even be better if it were more rougher and realistic. Maybe that love story that wins out at the end is even better. I'm not saying Natalie Wood and the guy that played Tony were bad. They were good.
No, like I said, the original movie's fantastic.
Let me give you one more example. One more example from last year. I love Jesus Christ Superstar as a musical. I love the music. The music was really, really well done.
Wasn't that a NBC thing?
It was remade last year.
No, I know. Yeah.
So I didn't have a problem with remaking it, especially recasting and doing different people in different roles.
Yes, but see, the thing is, they kept it pretty close to the musical. That's the thing. They didn't go off course. But if you're talking about Perfect Strangers, we're gonna give you an all-black cast set in New York,
right?
With women leads, and like I said, for a new audience, that's fine. For an audience like myself that knows the show, I'm like, I'll skip, I'll pass. They're also remaking Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but they're making it more of a drama.
I got two of them for you. They were going to make The Greatest American Hero with a Southeast Asian woman as the lead.
Oh my God.
It never took off. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they're still working on it, but it never took off. And then here's one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the show The Wonder Years?
Yes, I already know. I know the whole story. Yes.
They're doing
tell me the story. I don't know.
A reboot, and the show takes place in the 60s in Montgomery, Alabama.
Yes.
Don Cheadle narrated, I guess, because Don Cheadle, I guess, would be the kid, right? Because isn't that how the original was? Fred Savage, kid, was narrating as an adult. And wasn't Bob Saget the narrator of that?
No, I think it was the guy from Home Alone that was Joe Pesci's sidekick.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
I know who you're talking about.
What is
Yeah.
his name?
No,
Yeah.
they
Bob
did
Saget
the-
does narrate something though. You're right. He does narrate a show. I don't know what it is though. I can't remember.
But I mean, like we're talking, like they redid a reboot of Perry Mason for HBO Max. Now that is a
Oh,
great series,
That's a great
but
show.
they kept it as it was. They didn't do all these changes. They didn't try to. It's almost as if this is probably going to sound bad, but they're forcing a. How do you say it?
Basically a minority agenda in a sense.
Right.
Which
They're
is not
forcing it on you.
horrible. But
No,
the
but
thing-
at the same time, why not just do new shows? I
Yeah,
mean, why are
that's
you
the problem.
trying to milk what was
Well,
popular
Now,
back then in
and I-
hopes that it kicks off?
I get Wonder Years because it's a different perspective with a black family in Alabama.
But why
But
call
don't
it
call
Wonder
it Wonder Years?
Why
That's
call it
just
something
it.
else?
Don't even call it.
I
just
can-
call it. I don't know.
I can-
Call it something else.
I can answer your question, Carlos. You know the answer. It's the reason why sequels are made
Cash
because
grab.
because it's easier because it doesn't require anybody.
You have a
writer.
built-in audience already.
You have a built-in audience, and you don't have to really reinvent the script. You can take the original scripts, which I'm sure they have access to, and just
Sure.
tweak them and tweak them. It's much easier if you think about it. You know, I never really thought about it in terms of the script, but in terms of the script, it's already there. All the scripts are there, so you just tweak
Right.
them for 30 years later with a different cast, of course.
I see.
Much easier.
I don't see that happening because I also see it as very similar to Mindy Kaling. Oh, it's about a Pakistani lead, so I think a Pakistani should write it. In a sense, I think.
Well,
some
no,
people-
sure. I'm guessing,
I'm
but
not saying
I'm sure they give the new writers, it's a room full of comedy writers, whatever. I'm sure it's going to be comedy or something. And they give them the original script and goes, here's your base. No,
Yeah.
do what you need to do to tweak it, to make it modern, to make it whatever. Not modern, but it's take place in the 60s. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, I can obviously use a base as original script as base.
Yeah,
Which-
you can,
right.
but because they're putting in Alabama in the 60s, it's a totally different show. That's just it. It's a totally
Oh,
It-
yeah.
it is, but
Especially
you can
in
use the
Montgomery in the
structure.
60s.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can
So
still
that's
use
why
the
it's
structure of the
different.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, you can maybe use the structure in the sense of the dad is this. Comes
Yes,
off the same, and he has the same
yeah.
job. But why do all that? You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of doing all that? If you give us a black family
Cheaper.
in Montgomery, Alabama, like I said, you don't have to call it Wonder Years. Call it something else. Like it is an original show. It's not the same show. That's the thing. It's not the same show. It is a totally different show.
But like
um,
Carlos mentioned, you already had the audience that watched the original.
they won't
and
watch
probably
this new
reason-
show. I can
They
tell you that
won't
right now
watch
because we're the audience. You know what I mean? Like we are the audience. I mean, that
But the other thing-
audience is
But the
gone.
other thing too, though, is like we're the audience, or we were the audience, and this is a TV show. It's going to be on CBS. I don't watch regular TV, so they're obviously going to have to build a new audience for this. Because none of the old audience is coming back for this.
That's an interesting side question,
But that's a whole different
especially
thing.
when it's on
too.
network television. Like I'm not really interested in network television anymore because you can't do as much.
I do watch network. I got still about like 6 shows I watch on network television.
I watched Picard. Picard was
but that's
was
not on
good.
network
But that's
television.
network.
That's on
That's not
CBS
network.
All
That's
Access.
Paramount or CBS. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a streaming
so
service.
all
That's
right.
a
So it
streaming
wasn't
service.
aired
Yeah.
network wise as well.
No, never.
Mhm.
No. Yeah, I mean, can you list shows you still watch on network television before we go to break? What do you still
Superman.
watch? You watch Superman and Lois.
I watch
All
Superman
right.
and Lois. Yeah.
You
I don't have
anything you
anything.
watch?
I don't have anything.
Nothing.
I
I
watch-
watch. Go ahead.
Forged in Fire.
That's not on network television though.
It's on A&E. Well, yeah,
Well,
I guess
network
it's not
television
network. You're
is-
right. It's not. You're
Yeah,
right.
ABC,
So-
Fox, CW.
Family
NBC.
Guy and
Mhm.
Superman and Lois. That's about it. So
And wow, too.
NFL football.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah.
NFL football.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I do Shark Tank.
Oh, that's still
Uh,
on.
Yeah, Shark Tank. I do Family Guy, Bob's Burgers. I do that Sunday animated lineup on Fox. What else? I do. I just had one. Goldbergs. I really like the Goldbergs, and of course, I've never missed an episode of Grey's Anatomy. All right, let's take a break here on Nerds Talking, the
Which is
podcast.
ending.
No, it's not ending. Actually, it's not. It's not ending. It never ends. Not an end. Never ends if you own Netflix. All right, everyone. We'll be right back here on Nerds Talking the Podcast. Welcome back to Nerds Talking the Podcast. I'm here with Carlos, Hugh, I'm Lafayette. Remember, I know I keep reminding you, but you should put this down on your phone and put in your calendar to rate, review, subscribe, download, turn on notifications, tell your friends. And remember, Grey's Anatomy is every Thursday on ABC at 8 o'clock.
You shut up.
Grace Sloan Hospital. Anywho, superhero movies are huge, of course. They will never stop ruling the box office, it seems like, no matter how obscure the character is. And as long as Marvel and DC put a movie out, people are going to watch it. But lately, these other streaming services, well, they don't own the rights to Marvel or DC, so they got to go out there and look for heroes to put on their small little boxes. So Netflix went out and got themselves Jupiter's Legacy from Mark Miller, who's a really popular comic book writer. Didn't quite work out. The show was, Carlos, you saw the show, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like a CW type of show.
Right. It looked cheap. I mean, the new Superman and Lois looks much better than Jupiter Legacy.
Oh, way. It's a better show.
Yeah.
But that just gives you an idea that these Netflix, Hulu's, Amazon's, well, not necessarily Hulu, because now Hulu is owned by Disney, but Amazon and Netflix, they got to go out and try to get superhero properties that aren't owned by Disney and Warner Brothers. And so you got something like on Amazon, The Boys. Now, Hugh, have you seen The Boys?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It's tremendous.
Exactly.
I love The Boys.
You know how good The Boys
love
is. You love boys. Oh, man. Hey, go to a church and tell that in like when you're doing your sins, your confession.
They'll make you a priest.
They'll be like, Father, I have to confess, I love boys. Wait a second. Are you coming to
He'll
Thursday's
be like,
meeting?
he'll high five you. Me too, bro.
Yeah. He'll high five you through the screen.
Hey man, I got some wine and cookies in the back. You want to come over?
You should come to Thursday's. Hey, come to Thursday's meeting at the pizza place. If you know what I mean. Wink, wink. It's a great show, though. The Boys is a fantastic show, and it also it shows you how good, if you look for the right comic book property, you can make a show. And the book is very good, but the show is even better. Another example is the Umbrella Academy on Netflix. They had to go out and get a comic book show. And what I like about both those shows is they're not your typical superhero shows. They're definitely different. And I think if you're going to compete with Marvel and DC, that's what you got to do. You can't give us more of the same. And Amazon, and Amazon has a great one. It's animated, called Invincible. So you should watch Invincible. It is amazing. It is on Amazon. And it is from Robert Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead. And it is awesome.
The Boys set a standard, though. With all the violence and all the...
yes.
And Incredibles Invincible, kind of carries that. But I think they were trying to do that with Jupiter Legacy, but it never came out. It never came across that way. Not until you explained to me what the book how it was gonna end. I was like, really? They were gonna do all that violence, but they never touched on it once in the first season.
That show, that show did not fare well because I think when you set a bar that high, even with Umbrella Academy, because that show has violence, a good amount of violence too. You have to reach that level of quality. Hugh?
The depth of the character development is what. Yes, the violence is great, but the depth of the character development in The Boys and Umbrella Academy is absolutely what does it for me, even more than some of the movies.
Well, there's a new show out.
Even more than the movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new show out on Netflix, which you'll probably like. It's also a comic book, but it's not violent, and it's not. Like you said, it's the depth and the character development. It's called Sweet Tooth.
Oh yeah,
a new show on Netflix. And it is a great first season. That is a good show.
That's a very good show. Yeah, very good show. Sweet Tooth. It's about a virus that strikes the planet that turns newborns into like half animal breeds,
Like hybrids.
Oh,
hybrids,
shit.
and
Oh shit.
and basically the government. I would say I guess the governments of the world basically try to kill all the hybrids because they think they're the reason for the virus. When these
Well, I haven't
kids
really
don't,
caught that yet because General Abbott, I think he's kind of a rogue general. I don't know who's even running the country anymore.
yeah, you don't really get that. You don't really get it.
No.
But it's a great show. Watch it. It is also a comic book. Another idea of Netflix going out and going, we need comic book properties, but we don't want to be Marvel and DC. We want to be different.
Right.
And
And,
that's
they're doing the
what's-
other one
yeah.
with Sandra Bullock, executive producer, the Greg Capullo book.
Yes,
Reborn.
Reborn. They're
That
doing
is a
Reborn.
great book.
Which is a great book. And Sam and Twitch. If you don't know who that is, they're the
I heard.
detectives from Spawn, the comic book, being executive produced by the people that make Mayor of Easttown, I think it's called on HBO Max,
Mayor of
right?
Easttown, I think it is, yeah.
Mayor of Easttown, a good show. Love Mayor of Easttown. It was great. So they want to kind of give it that twist. So yeah, no, independent comic book movies and shows, you're going to see so many more because Warner Brothers owns DC Comics, so nobody can touch it, and Disney owns Marvel, nobody can touch it.
Well,
You know what I find interesting too? I was just reading about Sweet Tooth, and I find it interesting that these premises, have a lot to do with how people see other people, even just without obviously, where they're half deer, half hybrids, but how people discriminate between each other, which I think makes them so much better. It was actually produced by Robert and Susan Downey as well.
It is. Robert Downey is the
Yeah,
producer,
mhm.
Yeah.
Iron Man. Mhm.
and but it's like you said about the TV show that they're rebooting. The story's already written for them. If you pick up a good book, if it's a book is great, the story's already there, and you just need to develop it for your TV audience. And then, unfortunately, they didn't do that with Jupiter Legacy. So I would have liked to have seen where it was going, and from what Lafayette described to me as which direction the book went, but it never went that way, and it was just flat.
Very flat, very
the whole
boring.
show was flat. Yeah, it was
Very
boring.
And if you
but-
read the book, really violent.
But Sweet Tooth, right after episode 1, I was like, I'll give it a shot. And I was hooked. I'm like, let me see what's happening in 2. It's in 3. Unfortunately, these seasons are short. They're like 8-episode seasons of all these new shows that come out. And then if you binge watch them, then you gotta wait another year or 2 before you.
But so
it again.
Netflix says they're gonna keep it at that format, only 8 to 10 episodes, for the reason to see people get locked into it, because they don't want to commit to long seasons and throwing money at these shows if people check out after 4 episodes and so forth.
Right.
And Netflix is the king of, we're gonna kill your show right away after 1 season if you can't meet our benchmark. We don't care how good your show is, dead to us. They get rid of shows fast.
Well, they're
What
the
is-
king of streaming still. I mean, it's kind of hard to top them right now.
Oh yeah, no, they'll always be the king of streaming.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is Stranger Things based on the comic book as well?
No,
That's an original,
original.
Netflix show.
Okay, all
It's an
right.
original Netflix. It's talk about setting the bar high. Holy shit,
Yeah, as well, incredibly well done.
man. And it's funny because there's some shows I watched recently where I'm like, oh, this is better than Stranger Things all of a sudden. Like, and it's only because Stranger Things hasn't been out in a while. So you're going to be like, this is so good.
right.
But there was a show recently that I binge watched on Netflix that was new. Oh, I can't recall it, but man, I was like, that show is so good. Like, Locke Key,
watch it.
another
It's good.
comic book movie. You guys see
Oh,
Locke
I haven't
Key?
seen that yet. Is that good?
Fantastic. Locke
and
Key.
Key.
Is
And what's the other one?
fantastic.
Shadow something?
Oh, you're talking about like Shadow and Bone or whatever it is.
Yeah. That's a comic book as well, isn't it?
It did. It's it's novels, but it just got picked up for another
season 2. Yeah.
Yeah, already.
Uh-huh.
Very much Game of Thrones like. That fantasy realm thing.
Yeah.
Because
God, I
they're
sweat.
always everybody's looking for Game of Thrones. Everybody wants Game of Thrones, and the bad part is HBO is going to give you more Game of Thrones. So
What?
it's like
Then
giving
Amazon's giving you Lord of the Rings. And
Oh,
it
are they?
Sounds incredible.
a $2 billion
Oh.
season of Lord of the Rings. Oh
Yeah.
man. Oh yeah, they are sparing no expense, man. They
Yeah.
are That's why I like them, man. That's why I like streaming services, because it's almost like we're gonna go real big. If we strike out, well, what the hell? But we're gonna
Well,
go.
now that Amazon
huge.
owns MGM Studios,
That's right. They do own MGM Studios.
who knows what they're gonna make next?
That is true.
That's
They
very
just-
exciting. That is very exciting.
It is. It's very exciting. Yeah, they bought MGM Studios, and man, that is crazy. But it's a smart move. But still, man, that is crazy. But yeah, independent comic books, you're gonna see so much come out, like a ton of stuff come out. But on a side note, since Warner Brothers sold off that, or I should say AT&T sold off that portion of Warner Brothers to Discovery, and the Discovery CEO is taking over Warner Brothers. Believe it or not, Zack Snyder's version of Justice League is the #1 streamed movie in all of Europe for 6 straight weeks. And he's saying how
He wants to bring
how
it
is a
back.
movie, how is a movie getting this much push that we're not continuing this? Like, this is ridiculous. And he's even come out and said, if we don't actually continue it in live action, I'll continue this shit in animation just to go cheaper route. He's already talked about continuing it all. And that's good. I think that's
Love
great.
that. I would love that.
It's a
I would
great-
love that.
It's a great idea. I just don't like the idea. This Marvel's doing this, a multiverse idea. Okay. I always hate the idea of being a multiverse, meaning multiple universes in comic books. Now, I don't know what you guys think about this. The reason I hate it is just Avengers is a good example.
You
They
can never
went
kill
to
anybody.
they went to a different timeline. It was really a different dimension, because you can't go to Then they went back to their dimension on this timeline.
Right.
So Loki, the show, is a great example. Loki is dead, but Loki's not dead because you can continuously go to another universe and give us that character. Like, for instance, Iron Man is dead. Not really. You can continue making Iron Man movies. You can just go to the other universe and go,
Another
no, this
timeline.
Iron Man's
Yeah.
still alive. I hate
Well,
multi-universes. I hate them.
Well, the Spider-Verse was a perfect example. Peter Parker from another verse. Peter Parker in Morales' world died. Peter Parker from another multiverse came over and helped them out.
Yeah,
Well,
and
You're never killing anybody. They're always going to be alive. You can't sell tickets if you kill heroes.
And what I necessarily didn't like about that, because they've already talked about bringing Captain America back, Chris Evans, in twofold, showing what he did to restore all the gems back in place, because that would be a great story, to be honest. I'd love to see that movie.
Mhm.
Make that a TV show if you have to. But also showing the alternate Captain America continue his story. And I'm like, no, we don't need to see that, because all that means is all these stories you're giving us are pointless at this point. Like, who cares if Thanos did that? Because on another universe, this Thanos is doing something different, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, he's selling cookies at the bakery.
That's what I mean. So what's the point of doing? In another universe, Tony Stark is just a rich, Jeff Bezos. You know what I mean? Or Elon Musk. He's not even
He
a
runs
hero.
around at night in a bat suit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yes, that's pretty much. So I don't know how you guys feel about multiverses, but I do think it ruins the allure of comic book movies, because, for instance, there's 2 Batmans in DC's universe, and now there's 3 because Michael Keaton's back, and so on and so forth.
They're doing
on
the
and on.
multiverse now too with Flashpoint.
Is he really?
Yeah.
He's
And
back?
he's back in the new
And Keaton's
Flash
back.
movie,
Mhm.
and the Flash from the TV show is in the Flash movie, so on and so forth. And
And it was the other
Oh
way
my
around already.
God.
The Flash
it was the
Ezra
other way around
was in
already.
the TV show.
Exactly. So you're like,
Oh my god.
It just
don't
makes it confusing for the
audience.
young audience, I guess, not the older audience, because I see what's going on. But the younger audience are just going to be confused. Like, when my kid, when he's old enough, and I want to show him a Batman movie, I'm going to show him the Christian Bale movies, right? The Nolan movies. Those are great. But then if I show him Justice League, well, who's that Batman? Why does he not look like this Batman? Why there's Batman and that Batman? And then
Yeah.
why is Michael Keaton back? Why is the George Clooney gay in Batman? What is going on?
Well, it's not just that too. It's the Joker movie, which is phenomenal. Oh, it's
Yeah.
not part of the DCEU,
But he's not
but it's
even the
part
real
of the
Joker.
multiverse. Oh, so where does he fit in this? I don't know. He's gonna fit somewhere eventually. Okay. Like,
Oh, and the only
because
reason I said Clooney's Batman was gay, because he actually said in an interview recently he was trying to play his Batman as gay, but he didn't come across that way at all.
at
Which didn't
all,
make sense.
no.
Why even make that comment? That makes no sense. But
His Batman was completely flat.
oh
Like,
yeah, but it had bat nipples. So
Yeah, completely flat. It was just a shit. Just I don't know. But anyway, so there you go,
So-
people.
Well, to bring that full circle
Yep.
from the beginning of our show, people don't want to think very much. You guys may completely understand why doing this multiverse thing is doing a disservice to the comic book. But most people probably going to these movies are like, this is so cool.
Well,
Right.
and that's just it.
and don't care at all. They
No,
don't-
no. You're right. If you made 5 Batman movies a year and it was all different Batmans, I'd watch all 5 movies. Now,
you
if they
just
don't
pick the
mention
one you like the best.
and if they don't mention each other, to you're just watching 5 different stories of Batman. Like, oh, okay.
Right.
And I always felt that way. I always felt like I don't understand why they don't film like multiple Batman movies at once, even if it's the same, just different actors, but they're playing the same Batman. Like they're all the same Batman, just different actors. Let's give us different stories. Make Batman old in one movie.
Oh, you
Make
know
him
what?
young in one movie. Make you know what I mean? Like so.
You know how great that would be if they did what you said? So you make a bunch of Batman movies, but at the beginning of every Batman movie, it's the same guy, just one guy, and he's telling these stories to these kids. And it's the kid who imagines what Batman looks like. So if you have a black Batman, or if you have an Asian Batman, or a white Batman, it's because that's what the kid sees, and that one guy is telling these stories. And that's how you link them all. Just the one guy telling the story of all these Batman, and these kids dream up what it looks like. There's your explanation right there.
Well,
Boom.
there's that.
Give me money.
Or like I said, you can choose okay, Robert Pattinson's playing Batman. Okay, good. What's his name is playing Batman? Affleck. Okay, you're the middle-aged Batman. Let me get an even older Batman that's playing that, 60-year-old still thinks he can do it. He's in great shape. Make all those movies at once and just dump them out there and go, no, these are all connected. We're going to connect them eventually, but this is the age. This is how Batman's going through the motions.
How they aged, how they go through.
Oh, the Joker's dead already. When you saw the older Batman movie, don't worry, we're going to explain that shit. Like, and I never understood why they don't just sign one guy like Robert Pattinson. Hey, you want to play Batman in 5 movies? Yeah. Guess what? You got to film these all back to back to back to back. Like this is all you can do. Oh, because this is going to be
or
your
else
bread
they'll
and
age
butter.
out.
Forever in it, forever. Like we can probably film all 5 in 2 years. You down with that? Like, and you can just, I don't know. To me, if I'm Warner Brothers, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting younger actors that don't have, they're not famous, and they'll love a nice contract. Be like, hey,
Right.
how about playing Superman for 5 movies? Cool. Guess what? You got to film all 5 in the next 3 years. Oh shit. You
Problem.
don't-
I got shit to do for 3
you
years.
like
but
money?
play
Of
Of
Superman.
course not. It's a contract. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course you'll do that.
Let's
Any
do
actor
it.
would do that.
Yeah. Let's I'll be honest, the guy that plays Superman now, Henry Cavill, he would do that if they gave him the contract. But
Yes, he
right now his
would.
contract's in limbo, so guess what he's doing? He's playing
Everything
The Witcher.
else.
Yeah. He just signed on to
Sherlock
play
Holmes?
he's playing Sherlock Holmes, but he just signed on to play another big video game character. I forgot what it was.
Oh, that's correct.
Um,
That's right.
I think it's a Netflix series also.
It is a Netflix deal.
Yeah. So he's doing that.
He's
Um,
Mario. That's it, Mario.
Mario.
They're
Mario
making
Brothers.
Mario.
No, he's not Mario. No, I forgot what it was. No, he just signed on though for a big another
let me
big,
look it up.
big
Hold
role.
on.
But point being, I'm telling you, man, these guys, when you give them especially a superhero role, that's basically a life-making role. Like it just is. And that's why Michael Keaton quit playing Batman. Because he had the script for number 3 with Tim Burton, not nobody else. And he said, no, I don't want to be typecast as Batman. That's too much
Oh.
Batman for me. I know.
Well, he's doing Highlander,
Highlander,
Because-
that's what it is.
but the
No,
video
you're right.
game, the other video game, he's just a voice in a video game called Squadron 42.
No,
But yeah,
it's
he's the Highlander. He's the Highlander.
new
Making a
Highlander.
new Highlander.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
the
and
new
he's the Highlander.
Yeah,
Is he
he's the
playing
Highlander.
Christopher Lambert's part?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he's the new Highlander. And Highlander,
Keaton is Michael Keaton.
No.
No,
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
Oh.
and he's
Henry
also
Cavill.
doing
Okay.
James Bond.
Yes, he's
He's the new James Bond.
He's not James Bond.
He is James Bond.
No, he's not.
You heard it here first, folks, on News Talking the
Fake
News.
Fake news. Oh,
News
my
Talking.
God. News.
News
Oh, that's what the
talking.
show's called now. News talking.
News talking.
You know, you guys,
Right.
if you guys look up news talking, it's our alternate universe version of the show.
Oh, that's right.
And we just make up fake news the whole show,
That's
all
right.
show long. You know, oh, the Red Sox beat the Buffalo Bills 3-7. What? That's our sports update.
Are we in a multiverse? We're in a multiverse.
Yeah,
Our-
exactly.
Yeah.
On to weather.
Yeah.
Watch out. Somebody's throwing baseballs at your mom. How's that weather? Don't worry about it. Like, what? Breaking news. Yeah. Like,
It's-
wait, did you mean breaking wind? However you want to take it. It's news, baby. News talking. That's to be the other show.
Oh, that beats our other multiverse, nerd stalking.
Oh, that's my. Well, that's
Yeah,
yeah. I
where
came
we're
up
just
with that show.
a bunch of
on,
nerds stalking each.
I came up with that show on Taco Tuesday, where
We're not
my-
stalking anything.
my
else.
new
We're stalking each
my
other.
on Taco Tuesday, just stalking each other. I'm seeing you right now through Zoom. What? He was like, "Are you there?" Shh, I'm watching him. He's talking to me. He doesn't know.
I'm reporting you.
No, I heard that
I'm
on
being-
Taco Tuesday. That would be a great show. That'd
so
be
Taco
so good.
Tuesday was called
So
Next
good.
Victim.
Next victim, yes.
Called
yes.
Next Victim. It was me describing my next victim.
Right. You just
I was
pick
like-
random people, just describe them.
And
Yes.
Just describe him as I'm staring at them during the show, and they're like, "What the fuck's that guy doing?" He's my next victim. And come to find out, I'm a Grubhub driver. That just means I'm delivering food. And that was the twist.
No, that'd be great that if people actually caught on to it and started listening just to see if they were the next victim, to see if you're describing them.
Right? My next
Yeah.
victim.
But I
It's a
like nerd
5'5"
stalking. You just pick a
Caucasian.
nerd, you start stalking them.
No, because if you stalk Marie, she's like, "Oh, I enjoy this." So you don't want to.
Are you stalking me?
Yeah,
Have you been to
Come on
Paris?
in. Yeah.
And
like-
Do you have
Thus I
a
live
friend? Who else is hiding in that
Yeah.
bush?
How many people
Come
are
on
stalking me?
in, guys.
And look, I live in another city. Thank God.
Right? Oh man. All right, well, that's our show. Thanks for tuning in to Nerds Talking this week. You should subscribe, download, rate, review, turn on notifications, tell your friends. And for Carlos,
You can email us at nerdstalking@yahoo.com.
there you
Bye-bye.
go. Not a real Don't do that. Do
It
do
is.
that.
It's our email address. Nerds.
You made nerds.
Talking.
Oh, you're right. It is.
Nerd
So
stalk-
it's
it's
nerd.
all it
It's
is.
nerd stalking. It's nerd stalking. That's right.
That's right. Nerd stalking.
Good point. Good. that's right.
Yeah.
Nerd stalking. That's right.
stalking.
For Hugh,
See ya.
for Johnny, say your native tongue, Johnny. No, fuck, he's not here. And I'm Lafayette. I'll see you next time on Nerds Talking the podcast. Thanks for joining us.